maybe. Everybody's going to die at Bushido. Everybody dies, but you don't always die a good death. And I don't want to just sit around and do nothing. And I want to give something back. There's so much like hate and suffering in the world. I want to give something back. And this is my way of giving something back. The one that most people think about is anti-venom, which is if you get bit, it counteracts the venom and it saves your life. But one that was developed and now is made synthetically was from a snake called a jararaca, which is a lance-headed pit viper from Brazil. And it's the ACE inhibitors. And everybody probably knows somebody who takes an ACE inhibitor that saves their lives.
Today I'll be interviewing Jim Harrison to learn about what it's like to be a snake milker. And I guess we're going to start with some 3 questions today. In your own words, what do you do?
First, I'm not a snake milker. I'm a snake extractor.
My bad.
No, it's not your bad. That is the image people have.
Okay.
When I think of milking, I think of a cow and udders and sitting on a stool, and I don't think you can do that with a rattlesnake or cobra. So it's extracting venom. But
Okay.
I am the founder of the Kentucky Reptile Zoo, which is a nonprofit venom laboratory and exhibit in Eastern Kentucky. And I started extracting venom 49 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you start that? Like, what got you into it?
I caught a snake when I was 6 years old. My dad was a school teacher, and he also played semi-pro baseball, so he traveled all over the South. He got me books about snakes. By the time I was 12, I was reading on a college level on herpetology to study reptiles and amphibians. I met Dr. Sherman Minton when I was 16 years old, who was a toxicologist and a herpetologist. And by the time I was 17, I had graduated high school and I started extracting venom from king cobras. And I've been doing it ever since. I also was a police officer. I mean, I actually don't take a salary from extracting.
Wow.
All the money goes back into the business and stuff. But I was a police officer and I also was a professional fighter. So.
Wow. That is awesome. I guess, like, how did you balance the extracting part and then the police part of it?
Well, I'd come home and I'd milk snakes, then I'd go to work. When I was younger, sleep was like 4 hours was good enough. So, I'm 65 now, so it's a little different, but.
Wow. Okay. And where are you located?
We're located in Slade, Kentucky, which is near Natural Bridge State Resort Park and the Red River Gorge National Forest.
Okay. And then last little starter question. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to grow up. I was such a rough kid. I wanted to work with snakes and martial arts, and I've been actually lucky enough to do both.
Wow. That's really cool. Can you see any like overlap that like helps you from the martial arts side to the extraction side?
The overlaps from the martial arts is having focus and discipline. So it helps me a lot. And also reflexes. I continue to work out now, even though I've had both hips replaced and knee, and I'm about to have a shoulder replaced, but I still work out. So it keeps my reflexes up. I average about 600 to 1,000 extractions a week when I'm healthy. And
oh my gosh.
So I have to be focused every day, because every day I'm putting my hand on something that could potentially kill me.
How long does it take for you to extract from a snake?
Oh, it's only like, because I don't put on a show like the people on, I'm kind of boring. I want it to be boring, because if it's too exciting, it means I messed up. I usually 30 seconds to a minute.
Wow.
I've done 1,000 Malayan pit vipers in 4 hours. So, and it's not like a race. I don't set a time limit. I just do it. And I want to make sure I do it well and not make a mistake. So, but I also don't want to stress the animal. The longer you're holding the animal, the more stress on the animal.
How have you ever been like in a dangerous situation or been bit by a snake in all
I've been
years?
in a lot of dangerous situations. I've had my heart stopped 4 times. I've been on life support 7 times. One of the times my heart stopped was a human. I was run over by a stolen car when I was a police officer, and I was 26. Um, I have had 3 snake bites that caused my heart to stop. So the most recent bad bite was in 2015. I was bitten by a South American rattlesnake whose venom is being used and now making a drug in Europe for small cell, non-small cell lung cancer. And so I was bitten while extracting, and I ended up not remembering leaving the parking lot of the zoo. The snake's venom is highly neurotoxic, and I had descending paralysis. And within about an hour, I stopped breathing.
Wow.
I ended up on a respirator for what, about 9 hours until I started over breathing, and took like 15, 16 vials of anti-venom. We maintain our own anti-venom here. And they told me in the ambulance, I woke up, told them what to do and everything else, but I don't remember any of that. All I remember is waking up and them extubating me.
Wow. So why do you keep doing it even though it's so dangerous?
Because I have like a different attitude. Maybe everybody's going to die at Bushido. Everybody dies, but you don't always die a good death. And I don't want to just sit around and do nothing, and I want to give something back. There's so much like hate and suffering in the world. I want to give something back. And this is my way of giving something back. I've been to a lot of different countries. And when I was 17, I also worked as a coroner's assistant. So I saw a lot of really bad things. And I also worked in an ER. So I saw a lot of bad things. So I want to give something back. I don't want to just sit around.
Well, thank you so much. So like in the giving back world and the snake world, like what is like a couple of the most common things that the snake venom is used for?
The one that most people think about is anti-venom, which is if you get bit, it counteracts the venom and it saves your life. But one that was developed and now is made synthetically was from a snake called a jararaca, which is a lance-headed pit viper from Brazil, and it's the ACE inhibitors. And everybody probably knows somebody who takes an ACE inhibitor that saves their lives, and that's from the snake.
Wow.
One of the tests for lupus comes from Russell's viper venom, and that venom is produced for the United States and Canada here at our place. So that's part of it. And then there's studies being done right now to develop new anti-venoms. There are new studies for cancer. We're working with a group for opiate replacements because neurotoxins block the pain receptors. So some of the scientists say that it will be not addictive, but there's psychological and physiological addiction. So I can't say that it's not going to be addictive, but it will be something that will possibly replace opiates.
Wow.
That's mainly from black mambas and cobras and stuff like that.
That is so interesting. I didn't know that snake venom was used in so many like different medical applications. So what do you think someone has to be good at, like to be good at doing this job?
Paying attention and not having an ego. If you're showing off, you're going to get hurt. You know, my dad used to say, don't ever believe your press clippings because then you start being dangerous to yourself and everybody around you. And that's very true with this. You can't start believing that, you know, you can't make a mistake because you can. So you just have to be prepared for it. So that's the main thing, is knowing that you can make a mistake, not letting your ego get to the point where you think that you can't. Physically, it's not a hard thing. I've taught people in different countries how to do it. It's not super hard to learn, but it's just something where you need to stay focused and you have to not let your ego get ahead of you.
I know you went to the police force, but did you go to college? And if so, did you study anything in college?
Yeah, I went to college and I studied law and I studied biology, but I did not complete. I was a semester I dropped out a semester before graduating with a BS in biology because I got married the first time and I needed to get a job because I had a kid on the way.
To pay for
So
that ring and kid.
yeah, I had to make sure I take care of that. So responsibility. But I've been published. I peer review. I'm a dinosaur because I don't have a degree. So Krista, my wife, has a master's degree, and but we get invited to speak at professional conferences all the time and stuff. So
Wow. What degrees or certifications are required to be a snake extractor, or do you just
she can answer that better because she's more up on the college stuff. So.
I mean, I think to work with animals in any professional setting now, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree in biology or zoology, something
Okay.
related. There isn't anything specifically for extracting because it's not really big enough like to have something.
Right.
Like there's no organization really. There's like 4 or 5 people in the United States.
That's
So
all?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
It's a small community.
Yeah, it's a small community, and one of the big things is that the misinformation on the internet and on TV shows. I'm trying to be PC that say that venom is liquid gold. The fact that you have to keep the snakes alive, you have to have veterinarian, you have to have people that work, you have to have workers' comp on them, and everything else. By the time you take all that out, it's not liquid gold. That's the other reason I don't take a salary, because the money goes back into taking care of the animals, and so we can produce the research. And we don't only just have extractions, we have to be open to the public. We do lectures, we do shows, all kinds of stuff just to
Right.
make the bills.
Wow. And so if you weren't putting it back into your company, what do you think the salary would be for a snake milker?
I think what ProFab pays is like $30,000 or $40,000 a year.
Okay.
And they're one
So
of the
liquid gold isn't really liquid gold.
no, it's
Liquid pyrite.
yeah, for the anti-serum itself is a limited market when it comes to that. Now, if something becomes a medicine, it becomes worth more, but then it also has to be made synthetically because there's not enough snakes in the world to produce it. Like if this drug does get approved,
Right.
they want us to have a couple thousand rattlesnakes to produce from, but then that's also on top of that, they plan on making it synthetically. So they have to have both, so it's not, and with a living, breathing animal, it's not that easy to come up with it. It's like some of these animals are protected in the countries of origin, so you can't get out of that country anymore. So that's why we breed most of our snakes here. And we have a good working relationship with Fish and Wildlife and other countries. So we have been able to get animals out of other countries, but you can't say, I want 2,000 of them.
Right.
You can't do that because that's going to damage the ecology of the animals. So
How long, like if you extract from a snake, how long until the snake can be extracted from again?
2 to 3 weeks, counting on the species, is what is
Okay.
the rotation we have. So
And so kind of going backwards, if like I was a third grader, what are like the specific tasks that you spend the majority of your day doing for this job?
what I usually do is they do all the cleaning and stuff right now. I used to do all the cleaning and everything else. But right now I get up, I stretch, I get ready, and then I go extract, and then I come back and I stretch some more. So that's about it. That's about all I do right now. So
And then kind of like a two-parter, what part of the job is like the most exciting and interesting? And then on the other side, what is the hardest and like emotionally challenging part of doing this job?
the interesting is when I talk to kids. I like that part. When I talk to kids, adults not so much. The kids,
Yeah, who wants to talk to
they're,
adults?
they're more of an open page. You can paint the canvas a little better with kids than you can with adults. That's what I enjoy the most about it, and the idea that maybe I'm doing something that's going to help somebody not suffer. As far as the hardest part is when I review autopsies of people who've died from snake bite, or
Mm.
kids involved in a snake bite incident that we're helping treat. Those I don't like. I mean, there's something that, they're depressing.
That is very, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because I
Mm.
guess you deal with the people who, to make the anti-venom, you have to have people who died from it, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, from the snake bites themselves, death from snake bite is rare. 0 to 5 people a year die from snake bite in the United States. But when it happens, a lot of times there are legal things that are going on, like people arguing and stuff. I'm adjudicated as an expert witness in every state on snake envenoming. So
Wow.
I sometimes get asked to look at court cases or review autopsies and stuff like that. And since I have a background in working in a coroner's office, I actually, assisted on autopsies when I was 17. So I've been around it for a while.
Wow. That, you said you have like what, 49 years in the industry?
In extracting venom, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been working with snakes since I was 6, and I'm 65. And I started in martial arts when I was like 14.
Wow.
I turned pro when I was 16. I started fighting adults in the ring when I was 16. So
Wow. That's super impressive. And you've been fighting snakes since you were 6. So now we're gonna do some like rapid fire questions. And what is a day in the life like in terms of wake up and start time? And then what do you do when you have break? And how many breaks do you think you have?
I get up usually around between 6:30 and 7. I get up and I'll eat breakfast or stretch a little bit. Then I'll do like 2 hours of working out, and then I go and I extract for a couple hours, and then I come back and work out again. And that's basically all I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I'm recovering from, I had knee replacements like 2 years ago, and one of them got infected. So I was walking around with a PICC line in my arm extracting venom for a while. I was very sick and I lost a lot of weight. So I had to come back from that. And now I find out last Friday I have to have a shoulder replacement. So I'm not real thrilled.
That is
So,
not thrilling at all. Oh no. Yeah. What parts of your body do you think you use the most when you're extracting? Uh,
hands, hands and eyes
okay.
are two parts of the body you use, because you have to pay attention. You also can't be lured into assuming the animal is going to go one direction and it goes
Right.
in a direction. I had CNBC here once, and the young lady asked me when I opened up the cage what I was thinking about when I opened up the cage, and I said, I don't think of anything. I have an open mind. And she said, what's that mean? I said, well, I don't assume the animal is going to do something, because if I do, I'm going to be in the wrong position. I react to what's in front of me, not what I think might be in front of me. So your eyes and your hands, and
Like
that's,
being full, so you have to be like fully present in
yeah,
the moment to be able to be really good at that job.
no distractions.
Um, I think you might have already answered it, but would you say it is slow or a fast-paced like job? I'm gonna guess fast-paced
It's
or
not fast.
no.
It's not fast paced. It's can be long and tedious for, like with work, and what they do, the employees do now. They do all the work for the most part that I used to do. When I opened the zoo up, actually down here, the actual exhibit, I slept on a concrete floor for the first year because I didn't have a whole lot of money and I was getting started out. And I
Wow.
did everything myself. I cleaned, I sat the front desk, I did everything. So, but now we've grown, and with her, she's done most of it. I mean, we're now at a point where, we have four employees, full-time
besides me.
employees,
Okay.
and then we have college interns. So
I
it's changed a lot.
That'd be pretty cool to be a college intern for a snake mill.
Some of them really like it, and some of them don't like cleaning crap. I mean,
Fair. And then I guess like talking about employees, what percent of your time is spent doing like solo work versus collaborative work?
mine's almost all solo, except with
Okay.
her. She does most of the work with the interns, and her and Kat, our head keeper, work with the interns and with the employees.
Okay.
So I try to just stay focused on the extractions because it's, it it's I make less mistakes when I'm not doing other things. So
That makes a lot of sense. What do you wear when you are extracting?
surgeon's pants and I used to wear a surgeon's top, but I get heat rash. So I found these like wick tops that absorb the sweat. And
Hmm.
that's what I wear. There's videos of me extracting and stuff on our YouTube channel and everything else. So
Okay. Well, at the very end, we can get all like how people can reach out to you if that's okay.
okay.
And then which parts are like the busiest of the year? Or is it pretty consistent?
No,
I mean, summer is the busiest time,
yeah, with tourism and stuff.
but it really, I don't feel like we have a slow time anymore.
No,
I mean, in when we're not open to the public or open only on limited days, then we spend that time like trying to make improvements or, do other things. So I don't really feel like we have a
and
slow
they
time
they do a
anymore.
lot of school programs too. They go out to schools
Oh, wow.
and take non-venomous snakes, and alligators and do like educational programming.
That's super cool. What technology or tools do you use as part of your job?
I'm technological. I'm not allowed to touch tools. I break them. But she's
I
good
mean,
with.
he uses the snake handling equipment.
Yeah, I use the hooks
Which
and
is
stuff to work the snakes. It's basically like a golf stick with a
hook.
on the end of it, and you
Okay.
move it around. It's more. You'll probably understand if you watch one of our videos, but
Okay.
it moves the snakes around, and it's used what I use to pin them with, and stuff. So that's about the only tool I really use. And she uses a laboratory equipment. So.
Yeah, I mean, like the venom is stored in a super cold freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lyophilize it here. So which is freeze drying essentially. So we have a small lyophilizing machine for that purpose. Like a scale and that sort of thing to weigh the venom. But as far as like advanced technology, not much,
Right.
some now I guess for like veterinary things, like if we're, the snake needs something or we're putting it through quarantine, we need to do testing. There's a lot
Right.
easier ways to do those things now with some of the better technology. But yeah, a lot of it's kind of old school.
Well, I mean, it kind of has to be if there's only 5 in the whole United States.
Yeah.
Can't be too many people trying to develop that. Can you see this industry growing?
I see it changing rapidly.
Okay.
We're involved in doing a lot of the genome projects where we're trying to make everything synthetic so that we
Okay.
put ourselves out of business, basically. Part of the reason I started doing this was in the old days, they'd bring a snake in and they would extract from it and it would die in 6 months.
Oh,
And I
wow.
thought that was one, inhumane, and it was also bad science because you can't replicate it. So I started breeding stuff. I've had snakes live over 40 years. And
Wow.
so that's why we also have vets involved and everything else. But now we're looking at where you only need a small amount of venom, and now you can make it synthetically. And it's been
Super
a
cool.
possibility to do this for years, but it wasn't worth any money. Snakebite is not, even though it's a World Health Organization
Neglected tropical disease.
neglected tropical disease, it still isn't worth a whole lot of money because a lot of companies have gone out of business that produced anti-serum because they couldn't afford to stay in business.
Right.
So now there's several companies that are coming up with new stuff, and one of them is to make it synthetically or make antibodies different ways. So eventually venom will be able to be, well, we can do it, but it's not at a mass. You can't do it in a mass way like you can in extractions. You can make venoms in a petri dish, basically.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That like blows my mind.
Yeah, it's like when somebody comes here from one of the TV shows or wants us to do like a reality show, they want us to give a sound bite. But it's really hard to give a soundbite on something that's the venoms are so complicated and it's so much going on so fast right now because there's so
Right.
much being done. So it's not easy.
I couldn't do it. I obviously only about 5 people can, and you're one of the only ones. Do you see yourself like collaborating with people too in the industry, or like would you say like you're the all-knowing pretty much, the one that's been longest?
I'm not the all knowing. There's people who are there's other people that are much better than I am and know better, have been doing it for a while. There's, I want to always say that it's like the ego part of it is you don't want to start thinking you're something you're not. If you start thinking you're better than everybody else, then, that's an ego thing. But at the same time, there's at least 2 people that have been around longer than I have. And
That's probably right.
yeah, not a whole lot longer, but
with maybe one exception, we're on good terms with
everybody.
all of the other people. Like it's such a small group. It tends to be that like one person will end up kind of specializing in one sort of thing. For example, there's one person who works almost exclusively with coral snakes, and here in the US. And coral snakes take a lot of extra effort and time to have them thrive in a captive situation. And so it's great because that's something we don't actually have time to do a whole lot of. You can do that and specialize on it, and it works out really well. So yeah, I think, it's just like anything. I mean, there's always a few people who are kind of not fun to be around, but I think a lot of the venom community is pretty good people.
Yeah, there's a big meeting coming up here shortly in June in North Carolina that every 2 years it's called Venom Week. Actually, it's Lincoln's. You can find it.
Like your shirt, is that what it's from?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the last meeting.
That's funny. I didn't realize you were wearing.
Was this the one before the pandemic?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's the one after the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, right during the pandemic was one of the meetings.
Oh, wow.
And all the poison control people sent everybody home immediately when the pandemic. It was right when it was starting.
Yeah, it was like in March.
Yeah. So they were scared, but yeah, we have people that we do work with poison control, researchers at different universities and stuff. We have people come here and do stuff that's not even venom related, like behavioral stuff. As long as it's not going to harm the animal, we allow researchers to come in and do research with our animals because they're here. They should be used for something, and so.
How many snakes do you have?
About 2,000 right now.
Oh my gosh.
Probably over 100 some plus species. So
like 15 or 20.
115, 120 species.
Wow. And what do you think is the fastest way to get into this profession if someone like wanted to?
I would first say be realistic that it may not, it's morphing and evolving. So you need to be willing to do that. The fastest way is to go to college now, because like I said, I'm a dinosaur and you need to study toxicology and work through that part of it. Chemistry, toxicology, those are the big things. We've had several of our interns go on to get their PhDs.
Wow.
So,
and that's probably
that's what they do.
The way to go.
Yeah.
Wow. And then how long do you think it normally takes for someone to get good at the job?
It's interesting because I've seen people that became good at something in a year.
Okay.
People that have been doing it 50 years that aren't good at it. It just counts on the person. I wouldn't put a timetable on it because then that's another point that will put you at risk because you're starting to think. So I think it just counts on the person and whoever's mentoring you and how they feel about how you're doing.
So what do you
It's hard
look
for me
for?
to teach people because I have to see them around the animal, and I have to see their personality a little bit.
Right.
So,
So is there any like specific things you work for? It's like, is it just like a feel like, oh, I feel like this person is ready.
first,
They've been-
it's kind of sounds strange, but the first thing is they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But then they decide, yeah, I'll do it, and they listen. And that's the main thing. I made tons of mistakes when I was younger, and Dr. Minton would tell me when I was messing up. And the thing about it was I would listen. I've had people who ask me a question and then they want to tell me the answer. And
Right.
that doesn't work.
That's not how this
Even,
works.
and even if I'm wrong, it still doesn't work because we become confrontational. So we can't work and evolve at that point. I'm still evolving. I'm still looking for new techniques. I'm still looking at different things. Everything, like with the martial arts, everything goes back to technique.
Right.
So I'm always looking to change things, make it better, make it safer.
I mean, it's the lifelong learning thing. If you want to be good at anything, I feel like, and never be too stagnant on where you're at with your
You never stop learning until you're dead.
exactly.
Then with me, it means that I have to die a few more times.
You're like a cat with 9 lives. You have 6 left.
Yeah.
And so like when people move on from say extracting, what do you think that they could go into next?
Pharmacology and stuff like that. And just, overall teaching, and also a lot of them do teaching and conservation.
Hired venom extractors.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know all the retired venom
I mean,
extractors.
I think there's one that we know of, and he's the director of a zoo now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, people like keep asking me when I'm going to retire. I'm like, I can't physically do it anymore.
When I'm dead.
Yeah. I mean, or realistically, I mean, if I can't physically do it, I'll stop. I'm not gonna. People have asked me if I have a death wish, and I'm like, no, I have a life wish because it's a lot easier to die than it is to live sometimes. So
That is so true.
if I die, then come back, it is hard on your body. I will tell you that much.
Kind of going into like the learning part too, what books, resources, programs, or certifications would you recommend for someone who's looking to start extracting?
Well, there are some classes through the rattlesnake conservation people that they do level, not extraction, but handling of venomous snake courses. And we train Fish and Wildlife on working with venomous snakes. So those are things like that. But as far as books, there's a lot of new books that are coming out, but by the time they're published, they're almost the information is no good anymore because it's happening so fast. But there are journals like the International League of Toxicology. I've been a member since I was 18 years old, and it used to be that you had to be either a PhD or a doctor to be involved. But Dr. Minton got me in when I was 18. He also got me my investigational drug license when I was 18. So I can import investigational drugs like anti-venoms and stuff like that.
I have a thing to say about that.
Yeah. I'm sure you do.
Please say it.
I think that a lot, like we get questions a lot from people who are thinking they're going to make a career out of extracting. And I think the most important thing is to realize, I mean, you sort of said it, like be realistic, but the majority of media that covers this sort of thing, which of course everybody's interested because it's weird, right?
Right.
But even in something like this, you're not getting a total picture of what it's like and what sacrifices there are to manage a large collection of animals and stuff. I think trying to spend some time with people who do extract, but also learning a lot about animal care and husbandry is really important.
Right.
I don't think that you could extract venom in a way that's mindful of the snake's health if you don't understand what the snake needs on a day-to-day basis just to survive. Like you have to get that part down first. And I think, there's a lot of influencers, snake people on the internet, whatever, who are doing things because they're getting views
Clicks
and
and views.
attention and money from it, as anyone doing something interesting does on YouTube, right? But that's not really what it's like in a day-to-day sort of sense,
Right.
Yeah, you get covered in snake feces. They go to the bathroom on you. It's
They
not.
don't highlight that.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't have to.
Yeah, even when we filmed with like Animal Planet and Discovery and the BBC and everything, they always edit out the stuff that's like that. They don't really leave that part in. They want to leave in the stuff that's like shocking, but they want to leave in
Right.
stuff that excites people. It's like, why don't you make it hood up? Why don't you make it rattle? Well, if it's not rattling, then it means it's not stressed. I'd rather that way when I'm handling it. And if they watch me do 200, 300 rattlesnakes, several of them might rattle. So you'll get your video.
Right.
But sit there and poke it in the head with a stick. I'm not going to make the cobra hood up and stuff. All that's
Right.
stressful to the animal, and it defeats the purpose of education also. So because it gives the wrong impression. I really do have an issue, like she said, about with the stuff of seeing people milk snakes on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Venom is not going to be used for anything, because all you're doing is stressing the animal for no reason. You're just taking the venom and throwing it away.
Wow. Which
Yeah.
is cruel. I mean, that's just cruel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
And all that is a biological thing where you have your energy being drained from you. It's like people think when they pick up like a tortoise out west, they'll pick it up and take it off the road. Well, if that tortoise pees, you just killed it, because that's its hydration.
Wow.
That might be its water for the next 3 months. So,
And then it's dead. Wow.
Yeah, you have to be careful, how you portray things.
And you have to know how the animal actually functions, and
right.
And sometimes that's not as exciting. I think it's exciting.
Well, you have to be interested in that in order to want to learn about it.
But it's not.
But it's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, and it's not like immediate gratification.
Right. What is your favorite type of snake to extract from, or do you have one?
I guess I have to say kings, because of the first one I started with.
Okay.
And I also started breeding them, 49 years ago. And some of those kings are at different zoos. Bloodlines are at different zoos all over the United States.
Wow.
So those
Probably.
Puppy, our big king male that's on display right now, was just on Discovery's Disney Plus or something like that for a vet show, because it had developed a couple lumps and we thought it was cancer. So we're taking it to our vet, but our vet had been that was the cat. It was taken to our vet, but we had been contacted by a lady who's a vet TV show, Pop Goes the Vet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember. She's a dermatologist.
She's a dermatologist. Okay. Took off the lumps and they weren't cancerous. So he's still on display, but he's 28 years old. And he's daddy of like the king cobras at the Toledo Zoo and the Fort Worth Zoo. So he's, been around.
To say the least. And then kind of wrapping up, what would you tell your younger self who is just getting started in this profession?
Don't do it. No. It's gonna hurt. No, there's a few things unrelated to the profession that I've gone through that I would change, but nothing with the profession. I mean, one of the reasons I stopped fighting professionally is because I was paying people to beat me up, basically, because I wasn't making any money. So I decided, that I would do it just for fun after that point.
Right.
And that with this, I'm at least giving something back to humanity. So working this, I don't think I'd change anything.
That's awesome.
I'm overall somewhat happy most of the time.
That was a glowing endorsement.
If you can't tell, I have a very strange sense of humor.
Oh, so. No, I think it's awesome. I have a dark sense of humor too. Sometimes it's what the doctor orders. Where can people reach out to you if they're interested in learning more?
So we're pretty easy to find if you search for Kentucky Reptile Zoo. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We do have an old-fashioned website, which is kyreptilezoo.org. And our email is actually just that exact same thing, kyreptilezoo@kyreptilezoo.org. So we're pretty easy to get a hold of. Yeah, I think those are probably the easiest ways.
And if you just Google Jim Harrison and snakes or snake venom, it'll come up.
There's a bunch of
Something
things
will come up. We've been, like I said, I actually proposed to her on National Geographic while we were hunting snakes. She said it's the only romantic thing I've ever done, but it was actually, it's going to be 20 years ago here shortly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a pretty exciting engagement.
Well, the camera guy and the producer goes, "What are you going to do if she says no?" I said, "Nobody comes off the mountain." And they didn't know I had a dark sense of humor, and I became friends with the camera guy.
Oh my gosh.
I think he got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The poor lady who was producing, I don't think she got it. She went from not ever being in the wild to us dragging her through the wild.
Oh my gosh.
She got her shins busted up, and she was a trooper, but she had no idea. She went from doing like soap operas or something like that to producing something for National Geographic. So
That's definitely a switch. I'm like, I don't know how that makes sense, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, when they start doing reality shows, that kind of happened because all that stuff's for the most part scripted, as you know. So you take somebody from a scripted show and you put them on another scripted show.
Is Animal Planet scripted?
For the most part.
Okay.
It's not scripted in the sense of like, you're going to say this exact line.
Right.
But it's scripted in the sense of the excitement in this episode is going to be ABC. And
Right.
then you can react to that and, as you think you would if it was really happening. So there's a plan for what's going to happen. And they, like with the animal stuff, like they're staging the animals, they're taking
Right.
them and placing them so that, oh, look what we just found. Well, because otherwise you'd find it in bad lighting or, an ugly
Right.
one that doesn't look good on TV or whatever can go wrong. So, they're not really reality.
Well, when they right before my knee got infected, I won't say what show it was, but some show wanted me to come on. And before that, I'd been on To Tell the Truth. And both times they asked, "Can you act excited?" And I said, "I am excited. This is me. I don't act, and I told him, I said, when it comes to animals, acting excited gets you hurt or get somebody else hurt.
Yeah.
You need to stay calm and you need to pay attention, like the focus stuff. So when you see people going excited, when we filmed the thing there, they wanted me to be acting like I was excited when I caught a snake. So they had me run up and down a hill with boots on, and I didn't get winded, and I didn't act excited. So they ended up just using whatever, because I can't do it. And it just doesn't work for me.
Well, I mean, I think that you're just real, and thank you so much for like what you do give back to the world, because I don't know, I'd never even considered that snake venom was so important. So thank you so much for joining the Job Dictionary podcast today.
Thank you.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we can better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!